And welcome to episode 100 of Understanding Photography with Kim Ayres. Gosh, we've made it to a century. Who'd have thought? We're here, live on YouTube. Let me know you're here. Leave me a comment. Say hello. Say welcome. Tell me what the weather's like where you are. So this afternoon, afternoon here in Europe and Africa. Good morning in Americas. Good evening in Asia. We're celebrating 100 years, not 100 years, feels like it sometimes, 100 episodes of Understanding Photography with Kim Ayres with a best ever photo challenge. What I did was I put out the call. I said, send me your best photo, what you consider to be your best, and tell me a little bit why it is, and no excuses, no, oh well, it could have been better and I fell down, it didn't work, but just, this isn't critique, this is your best photos. And so we've had about 20 people send in their photos, and today what we're going to do is we're going to go through them, chat about them, hopefully be inspired by what we see, and to go out there and try a few more ideas ourselves, because that's what this is all about. Understanding Photography with Kim Ayres is all about everybody learning and developing, getting new ideas. So that's the plan, and 100 episodes. Wow. So I can see we've got a few comments in already. Quite a few comments in already. So let's have a little rundown. Diane says, "Hi Kim, just been down the road to see the Flying Scotsman live passing through our local station." That's a train for anybody who's out with the UK who didn't know. And have some shots. We'll put them up later after the podcast. So I look forward to seeing them, Diane. Meg says, "Good afternoon, everyone." Jim says, "Hi Kim, congratulations on reaching podcast 100. Thanks very much for taking the time to enlighten us all. Very much appreciated." Well, thank you for turning up. And Diane also says, "Hi all." Rosemary says, "Happy celebration to all. I would love to join you this morning, but we've already changed daylight saving times, which puts me off your schedule. We'll catch up with the replay though. And excited to see what wonderful images everyone has submitted." Well, yes, okay, so presumably then that's the clocks have gone forward in the US and probably Canada too. Here in the UK, it's still another couple of weekends, so you may well find for the next two episodes we're going to be that hour shifted, and then in the final weekend of March, that's when our clocks go forward as well. So everything will catch up with you in the Americas, and over certainly in India for Viji and anybody who's not having that kind of daylight savings time, everything will shift and suddenly it will probably be an hour earlier than you're expecting it to be. We'll worry about that in the next couple of weeks. Karen says, "Hello, look forward to seeing pictures of the Flying Scotsman." Maggie says, "Happy 100th. Jacqui says, "Hello everybody, happy 100th to Kim." Peter says, "Hello to all from Annan in Dumfries and Galloway, Scotland." Roy says, "Hello everyone, congratulations on reaching 100. Pat says, "Black clouds and sunlight from Somerset. Congratulations on the 100th episode, as absorbing as ever." Diane says, "What a wonderful accolade, Kim, reaching a century. So well deserved. Thank you." Nicola says, "Hi Kim, and congratulations all on a very special episode." John says, "Hello all from Columbus, Ohio." Karen says, "Feeling a bit privileged to be here for your 100th as a newcomer. I'm really glad to have you along." Where else? Anne says, "Hello from Texas." John says, "Congratulations on your 100th. Whatever else. April says, "Good morning. Clocks went ahead an hour. No longer can stay until the time changes go back in the fall. But as I just said, our time will be going forward an hour in a few weeks at the end of March. So hopefully we'll be back on a time schedule that will fit you." Stacey says, "Good morning from a very cold day in Hatboro, Pennsylvania. We had a mix of snow, rain and ice and sleet, making it a very coating of white ice. Temperatures are in the 20s after 60 and 70. I guess that means Fahrenheit, yeah. 20 centigrade or Celsius is really nice and warm and sunny in here in Scotland." Where else are we? Rosemary says, "April, I think, yes, talking about the clocks going." Robert's here, says, "Howdy all from Texas. Congratulations on your 100th episode." And says, "Yay for the 100th. What a wonderful series. Thank you." And Naria says, hi Kim and everyone else, congrats on the 100th episode. And Meg says, I'm incredibly proud of you, Dad, congratulations. Oh, that's so sweet, thank you, Meg. And Viji says, happy 100. Excellent. Well, we've got plenty of people in, lots of lovely comments. And yeah, I mean, yes, the 100th episode. Who would have thought it? I certainly didn't think it 100 episodes ago, when I thought I would do it for three months, which was about 13 episodes, and see how it went. But, of course, I couldn't be here if you weren't here. Very simply, you know, the podcast, I can't broadcast to an empty void of the internet. If I wasn't getting feedback, if you weren't turning up, leaving comments, putting your photos in for critiques, putting them into the challenges, feeding back on the questions of the week, all that's what makes these podcasts work. These podcasts aren't just me sitting here giving out advice on photography. There's thousands, millions of photography YouTube videos out there which just tell you how to do something regardless. There's no feedback, there's no interpersonal bit. This is a community. This is feedback. This is us interacting with each other. And we do this live, and that's where the fun is. And of course, some people are watching this on the recording, and I've got no idea how anybody watches the recordings of these. Do they sit and watch all the blethering in between, or do they skip past these bits to just the useful bits of information where we're talking? I don't know. I think maybe if I was watching them, I might skip past bits, but then again, it's the chat. But it's the chat, and it's the interactive chat. Anyway. Okay, let's make a start. I also want to say at this point, thank you ever so much to everybody who's given me such wonderful feedback and comments, on reaching this 100th, and thanking me for the help that they feel they've got out of the podcast. But like I say, it's yes, I'm more than happy. I love giving out advice and help where I can. But it can only happen because of you as well. If you didn't send me your images, if you didn't turn up, if you didn't give me the feedback, send me the take part, participate and interact, then these podcasts wouldn't exist. So it's a collaboration. We do this together. So thank you, yes, you individually and you collectively, for turning up and being a part of this. Right, okay. So let's make a start. We have 20 odd photos to go through, and let's see what we've got. Where are we going to start? What I'm going to do, I'm going to start with Rosemary, because Rosemary's always rushing out. She's going to be rushing out the door. She might have already left. I didn't realise the clocks went forward, so that she might not be around already. So I thought I'll do Rosemary first, and then pretty much I'm going to go alphabetically. So if you're wondering when your picture's going to turn up, kind of think alphabetically. And Viji's already thinking, oh, right, that's me at the end then. Right, okay, so let's take a look at our very first image, this one from Rosemary. And wow, what a shot. Rosemary says, congratulations, Kim, Maggie and Meg as well, since you've been mega supporters in all this. This is very true. Could not have done this without the support of my wife and daughter. I do have to say, choosing the best has consumed my week. I see now how desperately disorganised my files are, and searching through years of learning opportunities was more tedious than it needs to be. I thought that was brilliant, yeah. And it is sometimes trying to choose your best, even if you know what files. I mean, didn't we have this conversation a couple of weeks ago? What's your best filing system? Maybe go back and take a look at some of these, if previous podcasts, if you missed it, or can't quite remember. For the celebration, I chose this photograph of a male rufous hummingbird taken several years ago. I love to take photographs of wildlife living around us, and I'm very fond of hummingbirds. So, I mean, I'm always amazed by hummingbirds. We don't have any in this corner of Scotland, at least that I'm aware of. So fascinating. This image represents many, many mornings standing at the tripod, pointed through the kitchen window, guarding it from kids and dogs who might bump it over. I waited between overcast mornings for ones with perfect light, and our little hummingbird visitors would dart in for breakfast. I watched for angles that would catch their faces in the best light. I worked like crazy to nail the focus. It took well over 100 shots over several weeks to get this one, and that has all the components I was aiming for: light, position, focus. The process has given me an incredible respect for wildlife photographers. Oh gosh, absolutely. You have to have so much patience to be a wildlife photographer. Fast forward a few years, and I'm learning post-processing beyond just cropping, and I was able to do more with the file to direct the viewer's eye. I think this makes it a better edit than the original file. One thing I've learned in this exercise is that my best photo is still yet to be taken. I thought it was another great reason for starting with this one is because I thought Rosemary's comments there embedded so much of what we're all up against as photographers. What I really love about, this isn't just a quick snapshot that happened accidentally. This is work. This is going back again and again and again and again, and the number of photos that you end up in a folder which never quite get there, you just missed it, you didn't get it. Maybe they're the kinds that would have got put into critique saying, I didn't quite get this, what could I have done differently? Rosemary kept at it until she finally got the one she wanted, and it is a beautiful shot. We do have the light, we have the light on the face, we have the eye on this perfectly. That's the bit that's in focus. As you know, we've talked before about with animals and with people, the eye that's closest to the camera is always the one that should be in sharpest focus. There are occasional exceptions, but 99 times out of 100, that's the real thing. And she's done that, caught the light, caught the colours, got the depth of focus right. Really is a beautiful photo. So thanks ever so much for sending that one in, Rosemary. And I think also that idea that your best photo is still yet to be taken is an absolutely one. I mean, I'd hate to think that I'd taken the best photo I'm ever going to take already. We're growing, we're progressing, we're developing ourselves as photographers all the time. So hopefully over time we will progress and get better. And so it gets really quite exciting with the idea of, well, if this is what I've managed to do so far, if this is my best photo so far, what's it going to be like in a year or two's time or 5 years' time? How far can I progress? How much better will my photography get? So, thank you, Rosemary. Okay, quick look at the comments. Stacey says, I think the mannequin in the background is introducing you. Rosemary says, here for a couple of minutes. Good, hopefully you caught some of that. Pat says, well spotted, Stacey. Viji, April, Diane, Stacey, all saying how adorable the bird is. April says they are so quick. Pat says, what a reward for your patience. Karen says, lovely detail and a sharp eye, gorgeous shot. Oh, and Rosemary was around long enough to be able to say, thank you for all the kind comments. Excellent. Right, okay, let's take a look at our next photo then. So our next one comes in from Alex. And Alex, where are we, says, my entry, it was a very difficult choice as my preferred subject is birds. Oh, you probably appreciated Rosemary's there just now. Rather birds in flight. But there is something about this one, especially the mono version, which drew me to it. And I do have to say, Alex, this is a fantastic, it's a beautiful shot. I love the light, I love the processing you've done with this. So that, and because the sun is behind the subject, contre jour is sometimes the phrase that's used with it. But we've got all the steam coming up off the train. We've got that lovely way the light is kind of refracting and reflecting and bouncing around. Plus also what you've done is you haven't just allowed it to sit completely in silhouette, you've brought some of the details out of the shadows so we can still get a sense of the train here. And I'd also like, we've also got the people standing there at the side watching it. Lovely set of shadows, lovely lines driving us through, and fantastic, gorgeous bit of light coming down from the top. So I'm no wonder you're pleased with this one, Alex. I think it's a lovely photo and one to be rightly proud of. So thanks very much for sending that one in. Peter says, nice one, Alex. Viji says, incredible shot, this one. It takes us a century back. Certainly feels that way, yeah. So April says, very good composition. I like the black and white. And Diane says, great shot too. Right, next one I'm going to move on to then is Anne. And this is another one which was fought hard for. So Anne sent in this one, which is just incredible. Always, it's kind of graphic design, really, or virtually abstract. What is it we're actually looking at with these really strong, bold red against the blue sky with those beautiful kind of wispy clouds? Anne says, I think this one is my best photo. I worked hard to get the field of view right and make a contrast between light and dark portions of the image. There was also a lot of clutter in the background that I had to shoot around. I took the shots at lots of different angles, climbing on things, laying on the ground in the dirt. It took me several days to capture what I was going for. It was chosen for a public exhibition with the Dallas Center for Photography. The theme was abstract architecture. And once again, I think there's a wonderful aspect of this, which is, you'll sit, well, so abstract architect, I don't know what this would look like if I was just sort of standing back across the yard looking at this, but as you said, but Anne says that there was lots of clutter in the background, and so there's that notion of there's something here, something really nice that I like here. But if I just take this as a standard shot from where I'm standing at the angle that I'm looking at it, it's not doing it justice. And so she's hunted down the shot. She's known something is going to be there and she hasn't let it go, saying it took several days going back under different conditions, climbing on top of things, getting down low until she got the shot she wanted. Sometimes we're extraordinarily lucky and we get an amazing shot by accident or as a one-off. And that's great, but the problem is that we don't really learn a lot from that because we just got lucky. And unless you're going to hang around for that 1 in a million chance again, what you're trying to do as a photographer, and what we're trying to do as we grow as photographers, is to hunt, is to problem solve, is to go, I kind of like something in what I'm seeing here, but there's all these other elements that aren't working. What have I got to do to really bring out what it is I'm looking for? And that's what Anne did here. And I think it's a stunning photo, and I'm delighted that it did well for you in the contest, because it's just beautiful abstract lines. We don't really know what we're looking for, but it's all about line and form and colour, and a beautiful bright red, but also not just a single colour red. We do have that lovely kind of the darker and the lighter, and that sense of 3D space within that. So wonderfully hunted down, brilliant photo. Thanks very much for that, Anne. Right. Stacey, just in reference to Alex one, says, love the black and white, so dramatic. Bring this so dramatic, the story. April says creative, so we're now on to Anne, says creative abstracts. Jacqui says lovely red shapes. John says the black and white worked well on that shot. Okay, so leaping back a bit. Viji goes, whoa, abstract, love this. Stacey says love the red and blue, very nice. Maggie says beautiful image. April says I can see this in a modern art magazine. Viji says yes, the background and red, bold and beautiful. Diane says such an unusual, interesting shot, but well composed. And Nicola says love the simplicity of Anne's shot. And Peter says nice image, Anne, well done. Excellent. Right, okay, next on then to April. Now, by contrast to Anne's climbing on top of things, lying down in the dirt, playing around with different angles, going back day after day until she got the shot she wanted, April sent us this one and says, hi Kim, you asked us to pick the one photo we would like to be remembered by, what it would be. I chose this photo because it was expert commended. So that's always a lovely thing, really. When you get the expert commendation, I think there's one thing about winning a crowd vote, but I think when you get the kind of the expert, the judge turns around and really likes your photo, that always feels like that little bit more special, I think. She goes on. I actually took this photo through a metal fence. I stuck my camera through different holes of the fence. I was doing this off a main road. I asked my husband to pull over because it was a perfect picture opportunity. It was great because no one else was around and all the cherry blossoms were blooming in this cherry tree farm. It was a must. I not only love the colour, but the leading lines in this photo. And I think this is one of those things, essentially there's sort of two different ways of styles of getting the photo between April with this one and Anne with the last one. I think you'll find is a repeating theme throughout today's podcast, is that there are certain photos which people have just really hunted down, like Rosemary's as well, constantly going back, constantly trying to find things. And then there's these ones like from April, where driving along and she can see something and it's, whoa, stop the car, find somewhere safe to park, quick, leap out, shove the camera through the fence, take the shot. I've got the fantastic, gorgeous colours of the cherry blossom, counteracting that really strong green of the kind of spring grass. It is even a sort of touch of yellows and bits from the kind of autumn trees. Is that sort of left over from the previous season, or is that just new bloom? Not totally sure what's going on in the background, but there's sort of, yeah, maybe sort of spring growth growing on some of the trees over there, and a line which just draws you straight into the photo. So yeah, a nice bright colourful one there, April. So thanks very much for sending that one in. Stacey says, lovely grove of pink trees and a good example of leading lines. Viji says, looks like a carpet, the grass and pink embedded, stark contrast yet captivating. Meg says, absolutely beautiful photo, April. Roy says, leading lines and vanishing point, great composition. Peter says, nice mix of colours. April says, new blooms, spring was still on the way. And Karen says, lovely colours too. Excellent. Right, so next photo then is this one from Becca. Now, Becca says, I feel this is my best photo. Also, as it was my mum's wedding I was capturing. Perhaps I feel a personal connection to the day, and so it feels more special. Well, of course, it's bound to feel special. If you're creating a photo, you create a photo you really like, but of course, it's got that extra level of emotional connection when it's your mother. It's for your mother. How wonderful that you could do that for her. However, I culminated all my learning from here and my one-to-one with Kim to reach this point. I always appreciate the yeah. You can give me a bit of credit, and that's lovely, but it's your photo. She said, I love this. The unworn shoes, the sixpence, the lighting, the leading lines, the creamy smoothness, and the detail of the lace and pearls. Well, I think for this kind of photo, for that wedding style photo, you've captured everything you wanted it to do, and it's not even two shoes straight towards you. You've got the diagonal that sort of creates a wonderful triangle. So it's a pleasant composition. Looks like you've kind of gone for a sepia mix in the tones and the overlays, which give it that sort of slightly older. So you've got it's a soft level, narrow aperture. So everything sort of softens out behind. Nice balance of light. So that kind of, as when you're doing these kind of wedding photos, and you're kind of summing up a sort of sense of something going on there, I think it's beautifully done. Fantastic shot there, Becca. Excellent. Thanks for sending that one. Right, where are we? So. Diane says, love the shot and the extra shadows on the left. April says, thanks everyone for the compliments. And April also goes to say, I think this shoe photo looks very professional. Viji says, Becca, this is fetching. The angles, the curtain, perfect. Peter says, great capture. And Diane says, how wonderful these shoes are exquisite. Superb. So lots of positive feedback here. Stacey says, this reminds me of wedding photographs and making a story of the day's end or the before. It's a soft visual. Now, next one comes from Diane, and Diane says, I feel this is my best photo. Excuse me. And where's it gone? Sorry, my page has jumped about. Diane says, yes. Where we are. Yeah. Hi, Kim. This is my photo for the 100th edition of the podcast. It was taken last month at her brother's birthday party. I made her look the other way till I said turn, and it came out a lovely natural photo. So yeah, beautiful photo, nicely captured, and I think there's a nice little trick there for anybody who is doing quick portraits with people, and obviously most people are quite nervous, or while you're playing around with your camera settings, their grin is getting more and more fixed and their face isn't quite there. How do you get a natural look? And sometimes a trick is to get a person to look away, gather themselves, think of something nice or think of something funny, and then just get them, and then turn when you're ready, and as soon as they turn around you go click. Or sometimes you get them to look down, find the emotion that you're wanting to convey, and when they're ready, look up. And because they've sort of embedded themselves in that emotion for a few seconds, and they then look back, you've got a fraction of a second before the next emotion kicks in, which is, oh my god, this person's pointing a camera at me, which is usually that makes the face sort of stop looking so natural, or not the kind of natural you're wanting at any rate. So yeah, lovely idea, great way of doing that, Diane. So yeah, thanks very much for sending that one in. Right, where are we? So Stacey says lovely portrait, and Karen says lovely, really relaxed, natural. Excellent. Okay, so what is this? My little thing here, my notepad seems to keep leaping back to the top of the page each time, which isn't doing me much good. Right, so next one, quick one comes from, well, no, I say quick, it's from Jack, where Jack says, this is my entry, Kim, not perfect, but it makes me smile. His face just makes you happy, right? So this is Jack's entry. Managed to catch a squirrel on the ground, and you know, who doesn't love a squirrel? Unless you're competing for it for something. Probably a red squirrel wouldn't love the grey squirrel. But yeah, squirrel shots are great, and you know, obviously a kind of quick capture. Nicely done. Although that thing, is this? Do you feel like this is your best shot, Jack? I wish you told me a little bit more and told me a little bit about why. You know, I mean, yes, it's a lovely shot, but why do you consider it your best shot? I think the stories with these are definitely part of the fun of it. But thanks for sending that one in. Diane says, love him, and look at that eye. And Anne is saying so many wonderful images, very inspiring. Great. Okay, so the next one we've got in comes from Jacqui. And Jacqui has shown us one of her amazing splash photos for this. And Jacqui says, although difficult to choose my favourite image, I think this is the best photograph I've taken. It was actually during the winter of our first lockdown, and it was really freezing playing splash in such cold conditions, mainly due to the fact that there was water flying everywhere. But as usual, it was lots of fun, and I was happy with the end product. Thanks so much for the last 100 episodes, Kim. I'm proud to say I was along for the ride. I'm so glad you have been, Jacqui. So this is one of those, Jacqui's talked us through some of these before, where it's multiple images taken, different things, and then carefully composed to be so that so it has that look and feel of everything going on at the same time. A stark colour scheme of black with orange just set against it. We make all the orange, and then the white pith just stands out, leaps out. And these splashes which are going in absolutely every direction, captured at high speed, so all these sort of water splashes completely frozen in that moment. So these shots are not easy to do. Anybody who's ever given this a go will know that, I mean, you've got to get the setup. There's a nice kind of mirror base here as well, which is sort of, you know, giving you these sort of echoes. And of course, lots of mess and lots of playing around, and lots and lots and lots of photos you take in order to find the best bits of the best ones to put them together. So yeah, huge amount of time and energy goes into something like this. So many thanks for sending that one in, Jacqui. It certainly looks like one of the most ambitious I've seen that you've created. Where are we? Viji says, love this. As always, you rock when it comes to splash photography, Jacqui. Stacey says, Jacqui is the queen of trick photography. Love your method. Diane says, great image. Love the colours. Peter says, well composed and thought out image. Jim says, amazing splashes, well caught. And Karen says, wow. So lots of positive feedback on that one. Right, okay. Next image then comes from Jim. And Jim says, Kim, I think this is my favourite photograph, though not necessarily my best. Now you see, Jim, I said, send me your best photo. What are you doing sending me your favourite? Jim says, anyway, he goes on to say, I took it not long after I bought a DSLR and joined my camera club in 2017 and wanted to try slow shutter speed. I timed the wheel going around and set my shutter speed to match. It did well in the club and in some competitions. So f7.1, 4 seconds. 28mm. So I recognise the position of this. This is in Dumfries, and this is across the water from. So that stretch of road on the other side of the river there, you see, is called the Sands in Dumfries, and that's, you know, sort of the bottom of the main part of the town. This is across the water. Looking back, you're getting all those. You've not just managed to capture the smoothness of the, you know, that within 4 seconds the whole wheel has gone round from the fairground and the fairground ride, and so you've got a complete circle. But also what we've got is we've got these wonderful reflections, colours reflecting in the water. The water itself, of course, over 4 seconds has smoothed as well, and some lovely little sort of extra patterns there, I think. You know, in the weir as the water is just kind of running over the edge there. So yeah, fun image. I absolutely get why you're delighted with this one. So many thanks for sending that one in. But at some point, Jim, I would really like to know what you consider your best photo, not just your favourite. John says, creative shot, well done. Viji says, reminds me of our village fairs. Peter says, great photo of the fairground and river. Stacey says, very creative. The colours of the wheel are a good compliment. And Diane says, super nice creative shot. Excellent. Right. So now we'll move on to John. That's still Jim. There we go. John. Now, John sends us this one. It says, I took this several years ago while on vacation road trip. We were driving south of Yellowstone National Park into Grand Teton when I caught sight of this landscape along the road. Naturally, I had to stop and pull over and grab some shots. See, another driving along, had to stop shot. Several other people were doing the same. I have sold this picture a few times. Well, I suppose that's always a sign of something must be working if other people are prepared to part with their cash for it. Yeah, so I absolutely understand why you had to do that. You know, certainly if you're driving along, you've got the mountain, you've got the trees, you've got the sunlight hitting the trees, creating a fantastic reflection as well. I guess interestingly, I kind of want to see what this would look like as a. I bet you must have taken some landscape portraits of this as well as some landscape shots of this compositions as well as the portrait compositions. And I'd be really interested to see what it would look like as an answer. So maybe if you've got another one, just pop it into the Facebook group if you get a moment. So just to remind anybody who happens to be tuning in randomly, we have a Facebook also called Understanding Photography with Kim Ayres. Type that into Facebook and you can find it at any easily enough. Join the group. Well, one of the things we have in the Facebook group is I've been doing for the last several weeks, is a question of the week, which always manages to elicit a few interesting responses. And actually, let me just first of all just double check. Can we get any comments there from about John? Oh yes, we did. Okay, Jacqui saying thank you, Jim saying thank you. Viji says the backdrop, the trees, the reflection, picture perfect. And Diane says I've the reflections of the reflections and the detail in the mountain. And John says, yes, I took several shots of this scene. Yeah, you're never going to just take one. If you have just taken one, then you've missed an opportunity. So yes, anyway, going back to this notion of the question of the week. So this week, what I did was I just for a bit of fun, I said, what's your favourite ice cream or frozen dessert? And I started off with the fact that, you know, for all of the different kind of ice creams you can buy and you can go for, personally, it's my wife's ice cream. And my wife makes the most amazing chocolate ice cream, and also once a year at Christmas she makes the most incredible bramble ice cream. And for those who are out with Scotland, brambles are blackberries. Here in Scotland, we don't tend to say blackberries, you say brambles. And then, whereas in England, the fruit is blackberries and then the plant is brambles. Up in Scotland, the fruit is brambles and the plant is briars. So it took me a few years to get the hang of that when I first moved to Scotland. But anyway, so Maggie makes a wonderful bramble ice cream, which we only get once a year. If Meg and I have been out there picking the brambles earlier in the autumn. And so it's not, and wild brambles made into ice cream, you just can't really beat it. But I was curious as to what other people were going to say. So Sophie said, She loved all kinds of wild berry sorbets, and dairy-free chocolate ice cream. So I guess Sophie's either lactose intolerant or was on some kind of dairy-free diet. John says vanilla first, and then anything with fruit. Stacey said she liked frozen yogurt, but she also has an issue with too much milk. But she enjoys ice cream sandwiches. Ice cream sandwiches. Now, is that a particular kind of thing in America? Or are we talking about 2 slices of bread with a bit of ice cream in the middle? It's certainly not something I've ever tried. Becca says Ben & Jerry's fish food. Oh, well, Ben & Jerry's, everybody's got a favourite Ben & Jerry's. I think mine's choc chip cookie dough. Yeah. Now, yeah, Dan came in and said gelato. I had one in Chilius. I should have learned how to say Chilius last month. Best ice cream ever. And in fact, actually, she sent a picture of her best ice cream ever. So, or his best. Yeah, you have to forgive me there. His or her. I'm not so entirely sure I've caught up with that one. Anyway, so yeah, this is your Dan's ice cream. So we actually got a fit. It wasn't put in for the best photo situation, but was put in for the ice cream. Then we have, what else? Rose Peter said classic vanilla ice cream. John Painter said, yeah, vanilla or vanilla chocolate chip, but not that yellow vanilla. The pure white stuff with flecks of a vanilla bean. So proper vanilla ice cream. For that. Jack says tapioca pudding is mine. Tapioca pudding. Frozen. Oh, I've not had that before. April says mint chocolate chip yummy. And Roy says, mine is the one I'm eating. And that's yeah, fair enough. Yeah, the best ice cream is the one that's being put into your mouth. I can fully appreciate going along with that one. A little comment. Viji says my favourite's fried ice cream, and also kulfi, the best ones you get in India. Fried ice cream. Wow. Okay, so is that putting it in some kind of batter and then very quickly deep frying it, so that how you do that without it all melting? There must be some kind of trick. We'll find out about this at some point. I might have to start Googling and looking on YouTube to see what fried ice cream looks like. Brilliant. Okay, so that's us about halfway through now. Quick reminder that if you are enjoying these podcasts, find them useful, entertaining, and you'd like to show your appreciation, then buymeacoffee.com/Kim Ayres is one of the ways you can do it. Stacey says ice cream sandwiches are made with a cake, but with hardened chocolate ends. It can be a pound cake with vanilla or chocolate ice cream in the centre. Ah, right. Viji says we also have chili ice creams, which are famous in northern India. Chili ice cream. Did I try that once? No, I don't think I have. I think I've heard of it though. Sounds quite amazing. Right, okay, let's get back to photos then. And the next photo I want to show you is from Karen. Karen sent in this one and says, hi, this is my favourite to date. Taken in February 2022, so a very recent one then. I've chosen it because it is uncluttered, and I took it against the light from the window, and I like the way it turned out. So what we've got is essentially it become, with the light behind by getting your exposure levels on the flower, on the rose, it means that the light behind, is then whited out. But it allows all the wonderful textures to come through. Because the light is sort of passing through the sort of semi-translucent petals of the rose, it's catching this some beautiful, it's all about texture. This one really is about texture. What I also like about the fact is that your favourite is one of your most recent ones in this. And I think because quite often with mine, while I certainly have, I have some favourites which have lasted for a few years. But very often my favourites tend to be among the more recent ones that I've taken. Especially if I've got one that I'm particularly excited by, I suppose it's the newness of it as well. So that notion of my best photo or my favourite photo isn't necessarily. But also, like I said before, sometimes we kind of hope that we haven't taken our best photo yet. We're hoping that in time we will continue to take better and better photos. So I like this idea that you're putting in your best photos one that's really quite recent, because it's a sort of sign that you feel like you're progressing, you're moving forward with it. So lovely shot, and thank you very much for sending that one in, Karen. Oh, back on the ice cream, Meg says my favourite ice cream is bramble, mint choc chip and lemon curd ice cream. Oh, lemon curd ice cream, that could be fun. Oh, Manoj says, just dropped in to say, congrats, Kim, kudos. Here's to 1,000 more episodes. Thanks, Manoj. 1,000 more episodes. How many do I need to do for 1,000? If we're doing 52 a year, so that's another 20 years of podcasts. Wow. Okay, yep, here's another 20 years of podcasts then. 2 down. Nearly. Peter says, nice black and white tones. And Diane says, love the image in black and white. Cool. Okay, right. Let's move on. So next, Meg. So my daughter Meg wanted to send in a photo, and she was busy going back through her phone trying to find ones that she liked the most. And Meg said eventually, now this one is taken from Meg's bedroom window. Glorious sunset. There's this big tree in next door's garden, which more or less half of it hangs over our garden. We've got a bit of the hotel on the other side with the chimney coming up, and this fantastic sunset going on. And Meg says, I really like the colour of the sunset, and the silhouette of the tree works really well in the sky. Outside in the garden, the sky gives a real pop of colour. So beautiful shot, Meg. I think it really is. It kind of captures that sense of the end of the day, and the fact that you're quite high up there in your bedroom window, sort of we're up level with the top part of the hotel, looking over the rooftops towards the setting sun. I think it kind of evokes a sort of sense of that end of the day emotion feeling, looking out from the house window. So lovely shot, Meg. Thanks very much for sending that one in. Right. Jim says, beautiful photo, Meg. Well done. Oh, Stacey says she's going to put up some photographs of ice cream sandwiches as an example on the Facebook page. Excellent. Right, okay. Next one is from, Peter says, a nice sunset, Meg, as well. Next one up then we're going to look at is from Melissa. And Melissa has sent... where are we? This one, which is quite an incredible shot. She says, hi Kim, here's mine for the Sunday's 100th episode, and congrats, we all love your episodes. I'm delighted you love them, Melissa. This is quite an outstanding shot, the butterfly sitting on the beak of the bird. I don't even know what kind of bird that is. Again, Melissa, I would love to know more story about this. If you're watching this back, maybe pop back into the Facebook group, find your photo and give us a little bit more story about the background of it, where the bird is, what the circumstances were, and this amazing shot of the butterfly. I have to ask, is it genuinely the butterfly landed on the beak, or did you put it there in post-processing? I'm guessing it's fairly real. It looks kind of. If it is done in post-processing, you did a very good job of it, right? Cool. So yeah, really bright, colourful, and the bird really standing out against not just the background, but against the foreground as well. We've got the out of focus background, but we also have a bit of out of focus foliage in the foreground. So you really get a sense of the bird kind of in an environment. So beautifully composed, fantastic colours, and that extra sort of surprise element with the butterfly on the beak. And nice complementary colours as well, with the bird being blue and the butterfly being orange. I don't suppose you actually planned that, but unless it is, of course, photoshopped on afterwards, in which case you would have. Let us know. Inquiring minds want to know. Thank you. So, lovely shot. Thank you very much for sending that one to us, Melissa. Stacey said to Meg, I love these setting sunsets. Meg says, thank you all for the kind words. Now Stacey says, that's one beautiful bird. Jacqui says, stunning beautiful bird. Stunning blue colour of the feathers. Peter says, outstanding, very colourful. Viji says, oh my gosh, a colourful riot. A beautiful capture. Diane says, love the colours. Wow, what a shot. Roy says the bird does not look too impressed with the butterfly. And Karen says that is superb. Excellent. Right, okay, so next up then we have Nicola. Now, it has to be said that of all the photos we put that were submitted into the Facebook group, Nicola's by far and away got the biggest number of responses, the number of people clicking likes and loves and wows and what have you. And in fact, Nicola says herself, she says, this is my submission for my best photo so far. I was driving with my daughter home from our local skate park. Can you see where this is going? Just before Christmas, when I spotted this rather unusual shot developing, the sunlight appeared to be magical, and to me, it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I made sure I was able to stop safely and leapt out the car with a camera. So that's quite a few now that have leapt out the car with a camera. Fantastic that you had your camera on you, and I do have to say, it is one of those things, the being prepared for it. You know, I mean, how many times have we seen the most fantastic we seem to be the most fantastic potential shot, and we don't have our camera with us, and the phone just is never going to do it justice. So kudos for you for having your camera with you, as well as the sense to find a safe place to stop and then leap out the car. So she said, I took a few shots, including this one, knowing that the cloud and mist and light were all changing very quickly. Absolutely. I mean, this is not going to be the same from 1 second to the next. I plucked up the courage to post this shot on a popular photo sharing page and got a mind-boggling amount of feedback, likes and shares. And BBC Scotland also picked the shot up as one of their in pictures for the week leading up to Christmas too. I don't think it's technically the best or award-winning by any means, but this is the shot that actually made me feel more confident about sharing my photos, and for that reason it's my best one so far. Yeah, well, that's great, and I appreciate you pointing that out. That sometimes there are certain photos which allow us to move forward. They become turning points or catalysts or even jumping off points for where we go next with our photography. We do something, and the response we get to it is so heartwarming that it gives us the confidence to kind of carry on. And it really is quite incredible. It does look, it's very painterly. It's highly unusual. I mean, to be able to see the silhouettes of the trees actually against the sun is so unusual, because of course usually the brightness of the sun would be completely wiping out anything like that. And then if you exposed for the trees, the sun would be too bright, it's just. But because of the mist, but also the mist has faded out the foreground of the, so we couldn't see those trees through the mist if there wasn't the strength of the sunlight behind it. And then the beautiful kind of textures of the branches on the left as well, just giving us a context for it. It really is. It's the kind of shot where I think as a photographer, but also as non-photographers, it's you just know that you just don't see that kind of thing very often. And so it kind of grabs your attention. One of those things that we've talked about several times before with photography, and I think one of the things that attracts us to photography, what we love about photography, is photography allows us to see the world in ways we wouldn't normally be able to see it. And this is the kind of thing where when we're driving along, we might have a moment where you're looking at it going, wow, but by and large, you've got to keep your eye on the road. There's not a lot you can do about it. It's a fraction of a second and it's gone. But that ability to be able to stop and then capture it and then play around with the crop and just get everything how you wanted it, that's a fun part of photography. So yeah, lovely photo. And I'm delighted it gave you the confidence to start doing more and sharing more of your images, Nicola. So thank you very much for sending that one in. Sorry, come back to that other one in a moment. So where are we? So I can't. Right. Right now, Diane saying that's so unusual. Well done. Not sure which one she's referring to. Stacey says, well, this is very colourful. Are you still talking about the birds, or have you moved on to Nicola's one at this point? Peter says, great capture, well done. John says, fantastic shot of the sunset. Oh, we're definitely talking about the sunset now. Karen says, congratulations. And Jim says, a lovely shot. Cool. Okay, so let's move on then now to Peter. So you might have just caught a glimpse of that, or Nicola says thank you all. So this one, which looks rather like, I don't know, an alien ship trying to beam you up or something like that, says, congratulations on the 100th episode. Thank you for all the efforts you put in over the months. Oh, thank you for saying. Peter says, this isn't my best photo. Why not? I asked you for your best photo. Meanwhile, okay, though it is a pleasing one due to the technical difficulty involved. Okay, I appreciate the fact that we, have this sort of sense of this wasn't an easy photo to capture. And it doesn't look like an easy photo to capture. We've got a light coming down here. Let's just take a look. We've got a helicopter up here. The light from the helicopter lighting up the blades as they're going around. And then we have stars in the background. And in fact, that looks like the Seven Sisters, is it? Sitting over there as well. So Peter goes on to say, where are we? On the 21st of December 2019, around 9 o'clock in the evening, an alert was in operation on the River Annan as someone had suspected to have fallen in the river. Thankfully, it was a false alarm. Our garden overlooks the river. The first thing we found out about this was when a Coast Guard helicopter appeared above our bungalow, shining the searchlight towards the river. So I grabbed the camera and had a go at photographing the helicopter plus searchlight. As it was dark, I had to use a fast lens and a high ISO. I think so he's shot this at 12,800 ISO. And remember, we were talking last week about ISO as being something like, whilst ideally you don't want to have an ISO that high, if it's going to let you get the shot, you absolutely go there. So I was pleased with how it turned out, due in part to the impressive stabilisation of the Olympus camera. And this is true now, because he also mentions that he is hand holding this at a 15th of a second. Now, at a 15th of a second, anything I would have taken would have been out of focus. I can't. But if the camera you're talking about has got really good image stabilisation, then maybe if I was leaning against a post, pressing myself, pulling the strap hard against my neck, or leaning against a wall, trying to do anything I could to hold it steadier, then perhaps that could have worked. So that's brilliant. Says, as I'm into astronomy as well, I tried to frame the helicopter with the star constellation Taurus, the V next to the searchlight. And the Pleiades, that's the Seven Sisters up there, star cluster to the right of the helicopter. So I think that's just brilliant. First of all, you see the helicopter, you go, grab the camera, superb. But then to start thinking, and actually, how am I going to frame this against the night sky as well? Extra kudos to you for that, Peter, seriously. And then in terms of your composition, lovely rule of thirds, and then this fantastic diagonal coming directly down into the bottom left-hand corner. It is one of these which you look at and you look at again, because the first time you see it, you're not completely sure what you're looking at, but there's enough in there to intrigue you. So great to have have the little story behind it as well, with that notion of the searchlight and lining up against the stars. So superb. Thank you ever so much for sending that one in, Peter. Diane says, great capture of the helicopter. It really is. Okay, so we're now going to move on to Robert, and some of you may recognise this one. So Robert sent in this one. It says, this photo was taken during the winter freeze in Texas 2021. The temperature was below 0 Fahrenheit and Celsius. It is a heavily modified photo. Kim helped me with the techniques and composition through the podcast. I do remember this one being submitted to the podcast, and we played around with it. I'll give you a couple of ideas. But then Robert went on and developed it himself. It is my most successful picture on PhotoCrowd, as well as got an honourable mention in the 2021 Texas State Fair. I believe it could still do with a bit more work on it and push the bits around a little bit more. There are several versions of it, but this is the only one I can find right now. Workflow and storage problems. Personally, I believe the tree looks like a CT scan of a human brain, although not a lot of people see that. So yeah, I think this is it is a great photo. It has that sort of sense of, you've got the richness of the shapes of the trees, but then just that sense of emptiness. Beyond that, you really kind of, and with the snow about, moody black and white. I'm delighted that it got the commendation at the Texas State Fair. it's it is a lovely photo, and yeah, it's been sort of chopped and edited and what have you a lot. But then you see that again, I think, is part of photography, and we've talked before about this, that you can take the photo and you need to get everything as best as you can in camera, but then what you do with it after that also can have a huge effect. Sometimes you get lucky and pretty much there's not a lot you need to do with it. But if you're talking about creating a narrative photo, and this is a story photo, this isn't a photo necessarily, this isn't a documentary photo, as in a kind of, here we are telling the truth, this is exactly what it looked like. It's an evocative photo. It's a mood telling, mood exchanging kind of photo. So I think your editing skills, as well as your photography skills, all go into creating was what I think is a rather wonderful photo. So thanks for sending that one in, Robert. And where are we? Oh, Jim was saying, well caught, Peter. That was impressive. That was to do with the helicopter. And Diane says, I like the bend in the tree, probably the weight of the snow on the branches. I think the whole thing, just, the shape of that tree is a really lovely one. I can loosely see your idea of a CT scan of the brain, Robert. It's not where my brain immediately goes to. Right, okay, so let's move on. So next up we have Roy, who says, this is my entry for the challenge. It was difficult to choose my best or favourite image, but I've gone for this still life of a pepper. This is an image I've wanted to have a go at for some time and eventually made my first attempt last month. So this has a kind of, so it's a pepper, but it almost looks like it's metallic. It could be like a silver or chrome kind of thing. Now I'm assuming what you've done is kind of like a solarizing effect on this. Now, there are ways of doing that with original analog photography. There are things you can now do in Photoshop as well, where you start playing around. If you play around with the curves somewhat, you can get some really interesting effects. So yeah, I mean, a black and white, normally a pepper in black and white might look quite different. This is, but I think I like the way there, Roy, that you are investigating and trying out all these different kind of techniques. And so we end up with, like I say, it's a pepper, but it looks almost like it's been cast in metal rather than actually the squidgy vegetable, well, not so quite so squidgy, but the vegetable that it actually is. So was it a green pepper or was it a red pepper before you started playing with it in black and white, or an orange or yellow? Do let us know. But yeah, I think it's an interesting effect, that one, solarization. I might look at that one as in the future as another kind of possible podcast topic. So many thanks for sending that one in, Roy. Stacey says, I like the shape of the pepper. Oh, Roy says it was a red pepper. Excellent. And Diane says, great shadows on the pepper. Peter says, nice. Cool. Okay, so next up then we're going to Sarah. Now, Sarah has sent us in this one, and Sarah says, hi Kim, this is my entry for my favourite photo. I always said portrait style photography would never be for me, but I think sometimes it depends on your models and how you interact with them. This photo shoot last August was super fun, and although the shot took several attempts to get it right, it was worth it. I'm really happy with how it turned out. So here we've got Spiderman and I guess probably Black Widow running towards us. And yeah, I mean, what a lot of fun. Really bright and colourful. I like the fact that actually with this one, both feet have actually left the ground, and you can tell by the fact that the shadows aren't actually meeting up, that she is in fact running to a point whereby both feet have gone off. Yeah, fun, absolute fun. And I also, again, I like the fact that it's taken you several attempts to get it right. I think sometimes we do several photos and it turns out the first one we took was the best one. Most of the time, it's the last one we take is the best one. Or we get to a point where you go, that's the one, but I'll take a couple more just in case, which is always worth doing. I think it's for, whenever we've got the possibility, just fire off as many shots as you can, do as many attempts as you can, because there's always the possibility that there could be a slightly better version of the shot a bit later on. If you got the one and then stop, you could well have missed out. Sometimes we get lucky, but we're trying to make photography slightly more than just a bit of luck. There's a friend of mine who talks about the notion of narrowing the odds. You know, so instead of 1 in 1,000 of our photos is pretty good, maybe 1 in 100 of our photos is pretty good, or maybe 1 in 50 of our photos is pretty good, or maybe even 1 in 20. But we're never going to have every single photo is good. It's never going to happen. So what we're doing is trying to narrow the odds of getting the good photo. And one of the ways of doing that is to take more than one at a time and keep at it. So thanks very much for sending that one in, Sarah. Viji says, I'm in love with this shot. Stacey says, superheroes, a nice still and action shot. Diane says, look at how they are in step. Great capture. All right, okay, on to, where are we now? Okay, yes, on to Sophie. So, Sophie says, this is one of my travel memories. It's really hard to pick one best picture. I think this is a successful photo considering the conditions taken. That it was a long distance, there was inability to change the point of view and wait for better light, there was a big zoom in, and I didn't have a tripod. So yeah, so we got this fantastic kind of, now is that on a little island or is it just straightforwardly a floating restaurant or house? Yeah, it looks like a great fun place to be. So that notion, so that Sophie's out there, she sees this, and despite all the limitations of being in one position, not, you know, hand holding, not having the tripod, zooming in, manages to get the shot she wanted. So that kind of creates that. I think it's one of those things again where very often with our photos, the reason we can like a photo as our best photo, some of it, it's because of the emotional attachment to it, which might either be because we were really enjoying the place we were at, or might be because of the amount of struggle we went through in order to get that photo that perhaps somebody else might never appreciate. So, fun photo. I think what I like about this photo is it makes me think about, my house isn't in the middle of a lake, and I hope it never is. Unless it's intentional. But yeah, that idea, well, actually living on the water, kind of in that sense. Lots of greenery and trees as well. So yeah, quite an amazing place. So thanks very much for sending that one in, Sophie. Diane says, a lovely shot and great reflections on both sides. It's true, when you've got that kind of shape, but also seeing it at the kind of a diagonal rather than a flat side on, you're getting reflections all around it. Stacey says, gorgeous colours, houseboat and reflections around it. It reminds me of a resort. So let's move on then to the last photo we're going to show, and then I'll tell you what we're up to next week. So, that's Sophie's. Now, final one. Now, Viji. Now, this isn't Viji. Viji put in 2 photos because she wrote, I'm posting the first photo I posted in the forum. And the best one I took after the learning techniques. This will definitely show my progression, my progress. In the first photo, the subject is a silhouette. I thought it was a brilliant photo until Kim pointed out that the silhouette is blurred and the sea is sharp. So it's the first one she forwarded. So what we can see is that the sea is actually much more in focus than the people. She then went on the second one, which is this one. This is the actual one she's putting in as her best photo, which got me Kim's famous smug points. Speaks for itself. I urge those who have not tried out Kim's critique section to give it a try. So I have to say, Viji, that this is one of my favourite photos of yours as well. It's just, it does it for me every time I look at this. It's a beautiful, beautiful photo. And it combines so many of the techniques that we've talked about over the last 100 episodes. We have the use of diagonals. We've got, the way this curves from the top and comes down here, but then we've got counter diagonals running from the bottom left to the top right as well in the background. It's about a narrow sense of aperture, so we've got a nice sharp line, in sharp of the droplets on here, but then they fade out as it goes backwards. Likewise, the underneath here. So we've got bokeh. It's got light and shadow. All these things combine to create just this really kind of soft, moody photo where you can almost smell the dampness. You can feel the texture. You know what it'd be like to rub your fingers or thumb across the leaf, and how the water would splatter as well. And I forgot about that as well. I think we noticed when you did put it in as well, is that down here we even have a tiny little creature. Looks like a little ant or something, perhaps running along the leaf. I think that was an added extra. I don't think that was a deliberate point of putting that in. But what I appreciate here as well is Viji talking about the fact, because it is noticeable to me over the 100 episodes how much Viji's photography has come on and developed over time. A huge amount of commitment and continually trying. And Viji is one of the more prolific at putting in an image into critique. And I know putting in for critique is one of these things that I think a lot of people seem to hold back from doing. Everybody seems to love the feedback I get is that everybody loves me watching me do the critique on other people's photos. But everybody seems also quite hesitant about putting their own photos in for critique. Surely by now you know I'm not going to be nasty to you. The thing about critique is that's really how we learn. If you've got sticking points, if you're wanting to learn, put your photos in. Next week we will be having a critique section again. So opportunity to put your images in, ask for feedback. And if you've got sticking points, that's what this podcast is here for, is to help you get past them. We're all looking to grow and develop as photographers. So, excuse me, make the most of it. Now, the other thing we will be dealing with next week, actually, just before I come on to that, let's take a look at the comments. And Diane says, great angles. Stacey says, I love this photo, Viji. Jim says, really nice photo, Jimmy. Really nice photo, Viji. Peter says, great tropical photo, Viji. So what I was saying then is, so next week we will be having a critique section. The other thing I'm going to talk about is photo shoot I did for storyteller called Renita. And I did this photo shoot for Dumfries and Galloway Life magazine. Now, Renita was appearing in it, and I've known Renita for many years, so we thought we would have a bit of fun. And I will just briefly show you here one of the photos that was taken from it. Now, the thing to notice with this is we've got Renita there sitting reading her book, but look at the way I've kind of smoothed the trees out as they sort of disappear up into the top of the park, and that was all done. So how I did that in Photoshop, the way that I lit this, because despite the way that it looked, though it looks like it was taken early in the evening, it was in fact taken late morning in fairly bright sunshine. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that and how I took the photo and what I did with it in the editing. But like I say, what we will also do is have a critique section as well. So that pretty much brings us to the end of episode 100. If you found these podcasts useful, interesting, entertaining, learning experience, and you'd like to show your appreciation for them, then buymeacoffee.com/Kim Ayres is certainly one of the ways you can do it. 100 episodes down. If manage is anything to go, another 1,000 plus to are ahead of us, but only if I have people watching and contributing and being a part of it. It's a two-way aspect of this, and it is part of, and this is the thing, is I started these podcasts in lockdown, part of that as a way of connecting with other people. We've built this connection, we've built this community. It's been going now in 4 weeks' time. Episode 104 will be the 2nd anniversary, another big celebration. And for that, I'm going to be handing out some smug awards. We're going to have like an awards night kind of thing. I still haven't worked out quite what that's going to look like. If you've got any ideas of what you think the Smug Awards should look like, what kind of Smug Awards I should be handing out, and how we should be doing them, then please email me or post into the Facebook group Understanding Photography with Kim Ayres with some of your suggestions. We've got 2 or 3 weeks to work it out, and then because 4 weeks from now the Smug Awards will be going ahead. So let me know your thoughts on that. Last few comments then, we've got Viji says thank you everyone. Jacqui says thanks for an awesome episode. Oh, glad you thought it was awesome. Roy says great 100th episode. Kim, thank you. John says fun time looking at everyone's best photo. Lisa says thanks. Lisa, oh no. Lisa sent me a photo as well. Let me quickly, oh gosh, I've suddenly realised I didn't, where did that go? I'm going to have to very quick, because that's awful if I didn't show Lisa's photo, because where are we? Now bear with me one moment while I try and find, there we go, there's Lisa, and says she's sending her best photo for the 100th episode. And okay, let me just quickly do that. And says, I'm sending you a photo for the 100th episode of your podcast. So far, this is the one that's had the most positive feedback from my friends. Personally, I really love the atmosphere. Somehow seems spooky and comforting at the same time. Thanks for inviting me to join your channel. My apologies, Lisa. I don't know where that one got lost somewhere in the transfer, but really glad I managed to show that. I think this is a lovely photo. It is. It's kind of misty, it's dead, it's the middle of winter, but I love the shape of the path is just drawing you into it. And then we've got these wonderful bits of river on either side. And also what kind of makes it is the person standing in the midground as well, because then the leading lines draw you into it. And that whole misty thing has a wonderful sense of atmosphere and moodiness. So, oh, very nearly missed that one. So thank you for saying hello, Lisa. I'm glad you reminded me of that one. Right, where are we now? Stacey says congratulations to all on their best photographs. Thank you, Kim, for another, and to another 100 podcasts. Very enjoyable. Diane says great 100th episode. Learned so much over the past few weeks. My daughter and grandson have just arrived, so see you next week. Jim says thanks, Kim. Viji says good night, everyone. Nuria says thank you, Kim, for another great episode. And delighted you enjoyed it, Nuria. Stacey says very spooky and mysterious about Lisa's picture. So brilliant. I will see you all on Facebook, or I will see you next week, and send me your suggestions about the idea of the Smug Awards, and let's see if we can have a bit of fun for 4 weeks' time when we get to the 2-year anniversary. Cheerio.